Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Grev, and welcome once again to another Rip Roaring Reds. You're joining us Saturday evening, not far removed from Arsenal's 2-0 victory away at the King Power against Leicester. If it's your first time joining us, welcome to the channel. We try and review every single Arsenal game as it happens. You're joining me and my co-host Jace. How the devil are you?
I mean, I'm better than I was before the game, considering events over the last few weeks, and I'm very happy to come away with 3 points. Part of me was thinking, it's back on, but it's not on, is it? Yeah, I'm good. How are you, mate? How are you?
You've actually, I tweeted someone saying the duality of Arsenal fans. If you went back, and we haven't probably talked a lot since midweek, when Salah scored his second against Everton, I turned it off because I was like, right, it's done. It was inevitable. Liverpool were all over them. And then I had a text from a friend going, is anybody watching this? And obviously caught on that they last minute limbs and scored the equaliser. And like you, it's back on. It's back on. The duality of us Arsenal fans at the moment, the ups and downs are horrific because obviously the next day the news broke of Kai and it was like back down in the dumps again. Yeah, it was crazy. I like you. Like I said to my wife, I was in the car today going a bit of shopping, and I love when Arsenal's on at 12:30 and we win, because my entire weekend then is just at a slight level higher than when they don't, and it just spoils an entire weekend when they lose, particularly on the early kickoff. And so you now don't have to worry, and it's now you put the pressure on those other teams to kind of figure out if they can, make sure that they take their victories, take their wins, get their points. So yeah, I'm all right. I'm happy.
Good.
Well, like I said, if it's your first time joining us, welcome to the channel. Please do give the channel a subscribe. Please do give the video a like. Please do leave a comment down below what you thought of this Arsenal victory against Leicester. We're going to kick off, as we always kick off every podcast, which was with a Rip Roaring review. I am going to take the baton first before I hand over to Jace. And I'm going to have a bit of a callback to previous pods that we've done, where, let's be honest, that game wasn't the most enthralling. It wasn't the most enjoyable. It was quite torrid at times and quite boring. And I think we're going to have to get used to it, particularly while we're in this bit of a rut with injuries, because it's going to be a staple of our play. I think we're going to have to play the same way that we have played quite often this season. And I think I don't want to start off with a negative nanny, and it's annoying because I'm probably going to have to a little bit. Today, as it was about 60, 70 minutes and we were 0-0, and we were kind of looking towards the bench to kind of figure out what on that bench is going to change this game. And let's be honest, all of us were in the same boat thinking there is nothing on that bench that can change this game. And ultimately, there was something, and we'll talk about that later on. But let's talk about before that. And the feeling was very much like Leicester had a low block. They played really well, actually, defensively. They were difficult to break down. They didn't leave a lot of space. They were really, they had some. I mean, we're going to talk about Sterling later on too, but their left back and right back kept him further than arm's length. It was a very, very easy job for them. But generally speaking, they were good. And it was just, I was worried. And I'm glad that we came out of it unscathed. No injuries is always a plus at the moment, I think, for us. That should be the baseline for our games at the moment as we come out of them. But a 2-0 win away from home and putting the pressure on Liverpool. I'm a happy chappy. Am I somewhat not super excited looking forward to the games like West Ham, to the games like Chelsea that are coming up? Because those games aren't probably going to be nice to watch. That's my Rip Roaring review. What do you think, Jace?
Well, I don't disagree. And the one thing I would say is, yes, it is going to be like that at the end of the season. So yeah, if you're coming to watch beautiful football, you're going to be getting a little bit frustrated. We will take a while to get going. We won't necessarily have all of the flair in our attack that we desire. On the other hand, is it any different to a lot of the games we've already seen this season?
That's what I said. We've talked quite a few times where we've said it's a bit passive, a bit slow. We don't move the ball quick enough. We don't counter attack. This game was screaming out for someone with movement. It was screaming out for someone to bring a Leicester player out of their shape, because there was lots of occasions where Raya had the ball at his feet, and Leicester was just quite happy to let him and not do anything about it. And you're right, it is a pattern to a lot of our games this season. So whereby I don't necessarily think it's any different, at least when we've been in this situation in past games, we could at least call upon the bench to something that could give us something extra, something different, something that would change the game a little bit. We don't have any of that anymore. I mean, let's take this out of the equation. I think that this game in particular might be a unique specimen, let's say.
Yeah.
Merino's not playing as the number 9 every game, put it that way. He's not going up front against West Ham. I can't see it.
I think
maybe you have to.
I think we need to talk about this, but I mean, let's go into the game and talk about that. I think since we haven't really had much discussion since really the end of the transfer window too much, I think we just need to my RR was, which was I was thinking about this. I was thinking about, why did we not make that purchase that now has come back to bite us in the arse? Why, when it was so obvious the potential vulnerability and risk we were taking, why did we not even try to do a loan? Why did we not try to do anything? And the only thing that I could think about was who owns our club, and the fact that we are a business. And we've seen a transformation in our club in the last few years, and our hats have been tipped to the Cronkies and their investment and the money that we've spent. But we are a business that is there to be profitable, is there to grow its value, because that's ultimately what the Cronkies want to do, grow the value of the club. They own many other sports franchises. We're not the only ones. And if they win, as I said this before, if they win a trophy, that's great. It's no bad thing. But the minimum for them is Champions League football. The investment they've put in the squad in the last few years has been to get us back to the Champions League, so that every year consistently we can make money. Now, if you look at the table, do you think even with the injuries we're not qualifying for top 4? I think they took that risk thinking, we do not want to spend our money on subpar players. And I'd say that very lightly, because people may say, hang on, you're talking about Watkins. I'm not talking about Ollie Watkins. We should have done that. That was the fact that the money didn't work out. But there are other players available that we could have gone in for that were not our primary targets. And, Vlahovic, we've seen his performances at Juventus compared to what he was before when we tried to sign him. I don't think he's the standard that we want. And then the other players in January are completely inflamed in their value. And so we're a business, and their goal is make money. And if we win a trophy, great. And that's just where we are. And so that's just something that I was thinking very hard about, will that January business come back to bite us? And my roaring view is, I don't think the club care, but the owners don't. And they're the ones that control the purse strings. And if we make top 4, we make our Champions League money, all's good for them. We'll go again next season. But the fans feel differently, of course. We still want to push. It only takes a couple more draws from Liverpool, and this is wide open. And it's just unfortunate timing with Havertz.
I mean, it is. But I agree with you that our owners are treating it like a business, and as such, there's an inherent risk to buying players that are not the same level of quality or first starters or anything else that comes with it. But let's look back. Saka got injured, I think, in early December, and then we were reliant on Jesus to come in. Then Jesus got injured, and he's out for the season. Now, Saka, there was talk that Saka will be back for March. Let's be honest, I don't think we'll see him in a game until April. I can't see it.
We'll see.
So we needed a player when Saka got injured. Then we definitely needed a player when Jesus was injured. Now, obviously, we can't reverse anything that's happened with Havertz. It's happened since the closure of the window. But it's just gross negligence, in my opinion. Like, I agree with you that maybe the right signing wasn't available. But there's a lot of saying in business that, like, done is better than perfect. And we're probably going to need some level of a Trossard-like signing anyway. Not that he was any good today, let's be honest. But I do think a body, it would still be needed. You look at that bench today, and I think literally we had, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, so I'm not going to try and do it unless you can, the 22-year-old striker.
I'm not going to try.
I knew you were going to say the same, but like that's all we had. And the fact that we're not bringing him on, even towards the end, when if you need a goal, that's why the striker exists. That's his job. I don't want to sound like Roy Keane, but that's what he does, right? So it just seems odd. And I think they probably did look at it. I think top four is pretty much a given if we continue on the same trajectory that we're doing. But there's still a lot of risk within that. You think about where Man City were and look at what they're doing right now, and they're albeit they lost to Madrid in the week, but they're winning their way, and they lost to us. They got absolutely spanked. Let's not forget that. But they're on the up. They spanked Newcastle today, and Newcastle are a good side. Newcastle tore us to shreds in that game. Absolutely tore us to shreds. We've not talked about that game either since then, but we were frankly god awful in that game. Like really bad, really, really bad. Do I think it's going to come out to bite us? Do I think we're going to win the league? No, is my answer. Because if we win the league now, it would be mental. I think we should be that would be a huge bottle by Liverpool. The lead they've got and the players that we've got. If we manage to catch them and win this league, honestly, I'll eat my hat. That'd be incredible. I just can't see it. Champions League again. I just some of the quality in some of those other teams. It's just a level above ours at the moment. And so you're right. Top four is the aim. But I think I said this maybe last time we spoke. We're likely to double down on the summer, right? That seems to be, we've got the last few pieces of our jigsaw falling into place. The other teams are maybe on a bit of a downward swing. Man City's team is an aging one. They've got to move on some players. They've lost a lot of quality in the likes of De Bruyne. Liverpool, who knows what happens with Trent? Who knows what's happening with Salah? They've got a lot of players that are on their books that are earning high wages that are going to go elsewhere. Newcastle, the likes, Man United, Chelsea, they're all up and down. We're going to go for next summer. That's the one. And if we get that one player, if it's Isak, Sesko, whoever it might be, that feels to me like it's going to be the bit that transforms us next year. But I'm going to be... I'll ask you a question, Jace. How long have we been saying it for?
I mean, we said this year had to be the year, didn't we?
And we probably said a little bit about the year, maybe not as much and not as loud, but obviously we were competing. We got close. Then last year, wasn't it? So this year was going to be it. And we haven't signed. I think the one argument I have for why I don't think that anybody lays any blame at the foot of our Mikel Arteta is the fact we haven't signed a proper striker. His forward options that he's purchased over his tenure at Arsenal have been pretty poor. And he hasn't maybe got the targets that he wanted. When he does, then I think we can ask the question.
He doesn't do the
I know he doesn't, but he
do it.
Him and his team have to suggest players to the board, to the owners. These are who I want.
Yeah, but
if he doesn't get them, I know it's not his fault, but like he also can give other players those recommendations. He doesn't just have to. There's not just one or two, and you're putting all your eggs in that basket. That is negligent.
I believe he's pushed hard for players that we haven't even got. I don't think it's his fault. It's the club. It's the director of football. Previously Edo. Now it's the guy that's kind of in the interim periods. A combination with some of Josh Kroenke and Vinay. So ultimately, I don't lay blame at Arteta for that. He can only work with what he's given. he'll have a very strong influence, but he doesn't actually get to pull rank. The only thing I would say in his also he's naturally going to defend. He's going to say when he's happy and unhappy, but he's also not going to be. He's not going to be the kind of manager that turns around and blames the owner. Remember, like when
he's not going to throw anybody under the bus, is he?
Yeah, yeah, he's not. He's not. So he just will work with the constraints that he has. And as we say, it's a business. Not much more to say than that, apart from just unlucky. Like, how many hamstring injuries? I mean, that's the only other question. I don't know, like, if they've got to be using data and analytics to, Wenger used to talk about the red zone and the purple patches of players, right? You've got the data there, you've got the analytics. Why are we not like monitoring how many minutes these players are playing and how are we not being able to mitigate these risks? Because it doesn't feel, I don't know enough about sports science to say, but it just feels so weird, the fact that you have hamstring injury for Martinelli, a hamstring injury for Havertz.
But this is not an Arsenal exclusive problem. There was a really good tweet, quite a long one. I'll try and see if I can find it afterwards, that went through. I think there's been circa 36 hamstring injuries across the league in the last this season, and across that, there's a lot of talk about the amount and severity of games that teams are playing in such a short space of time. And I think even Arteta, in his press conference pre this game, talked a bit about you can't train the muscles. There's no time to train the muscles. There's no time to get into the gym between those games and ensure that you're strengthening and tensing those muscles and getting into a place where you're going into games and you feel fresh, you feel able to play. And that is causing no end of injuries across the league. It's, the fact that we're playing more Champions League games, the fact that we're having less of a kind of winter break and we're putting a lot of fixture congestion together is a problem. And it's the problem of every club. And I think, like we've talked a lot before about luck. Liverpool are riding a current wave of luck across this season. Everything is going their way. Do you think they would be doing the things that we are doing if they didn't have the likes of Virgil van Dijk or the likes of Mohamed Salah in their team? It just wouldn't happen. I mean, so there is an element of that.
The big one. Salah's the big one. The goals, the assists, just the ability to just play every game and be performance after performance. That's the one for me where I'm just like, oh, come on, man, just everything.
He gets 75% of Liverpool's goals and assists are involved from Mohamed Salah. Yeah. Mental. It is mental, and that's the difference maker.
He's their Robin van Persie this season. You remember when he came into United and won them the league? It's like that. That's what it feels like. It's like the team maybe not the best team you've ever seen, but it's just consistent.
Right, we're all Wolves fans tomorrow anyway, Jess.
Yeah.
Right. I'll tell you what, let's move on from some maybe somewhat pessimism. Let's go into some positivity. Once again, two teenagers in Arsenal's midst were here to save Arsenal's bacon. Two players that probably would not have been starting for this team had it not been for injuries that are happening across the team and are now bona fide starters. They are first team picks. They are on the team sheet, and if the player that's playing in their position comes back to fitness, we'd have to find a way in which we can fit them in, because these players are absolutely killing it. Jace, I'll give you the mic. I'll give you the time. I'm sure I know who you're going to pick. Talk to me about Ethan Nwaneri.
Yeah, I mean, you said Saka regen in a previous pod. And there are some similar attributes, which is why we identified he could be a good backup. But he's doing his own thing, and I really like what I'm seeing from him. Low center of gravity, physicality, urgency. He has the ability to do exactly what Bukayo does with a cut in and shoot, and he does that really, really well. But he's got an amazing tactical awareness, and I just compare Bukayo Saka to Nwaneri at this age. Nwaneri's so much further ahead than where Bukayo was when he was 17. Like, Bukayo was good, but he was playing at left back and he was playing at right back and he was all over the pitch and kind of being bedded in. Nwaneri's in the position that has to, in the moment, be consistent to perform, and he's going to be there for the rest of the season, unless we get a fit Bukayo back, in which case flip him to the other wing because we need help there too. He's making his own. I think this is just the start of a blossoming of a world-class player, and it's just ironic that we've had two very similar world-class players come through. But today he was awesome. He was the only threat on the pitch from both sides in most of the game. He took it to the defenders. He didn't mind trying to beat a man. He actually did beat his man, unlike some. I just really loving and enjoying seeing him grow with every performance in Arsenal shirt at the moment. He's got that air of confidence about him, that air of swagger a little bit. He's taking the ball by the horns and just going for it. And to be honest, I think you can never say we don't miss Bukayo Saka, because the goals and assists we absolutely do miss, and he's our best player by far. But he's doing a bloody good job of filling in that hole right now. And if you had both of them playing, it would be quite exciting.
Yeah. The fact that we're quite heavily reliant now on a 17-year-old to be the one that changes games for us. Because let's be honest, I wrote a note in the first half, he's going to be the one that changes the game. And he did. It was his ball to Merinho that made the goal. I can't add any other superlatives to what you said about Ethan Nwaneri. The fact of the matter is that he wouldn't have been here, like I said, if it wasn't for the injuries, because earlier on in the season there was a lack of trust in him for whatever reason from Arteta, particularly if you remember way back when Odegaard was injured, and a lot of us were calling for Nwaneri to play as the 10, and we ended up playing Trossard there more often than not. And I wonder whether or not that's because Nwaneri was carved out of that right wing. But there's no doubt in my mind that he can play. He's very a versatile player. He can play a lot of positions. He has that ability to turn and go. He has the ability to thread passes. He can be creative. He can run at a man. He's got all the qualities and attributes to do that kind of play. It seems mad to think now that, like you say, he wouldn't even, there's not even a choice. If Saka comes back, we've got to find another place that he can play on the pitch, because he needs to be on the starting 11.
Well, I mean, you think back to the days when City had Mahrez, Sane, Sterling in their prime, like all these players. I don't see this as a problem. The fact that you got to try and squeeze both in, they're the best two wingers we have. So one of them needs to learn how to play on the left. It's as simple as that, because they are at the moment levels above Martinelli and Trossard. We need to talk about Trossard. I'm intrigued to hear your view on Trossard in this game, but I'll pause just for a second before we move on, because I guess Skelly as well, right? Lewis-Skelly had a great performance. What did you think of his? Well, I guess you want to talk about the little toe poke off the foot of the Leicester attacker.
I actually wanted to talk about. There was a moment in this game where it was 0-0, and there was a great ball across the goal from Leicester. I can't remember who did it, but it was a fantastic ball. It might have been Jordan Ayew, and it was a tap-in at the back post, and there was this tiny little touch from MLS that took it off his toe, went out for a corner, and that could have really been the turning point of this game for us. And the fact that this player can do it all. He's left back. He's playing in the middle. He's filling in. He's driving forward. He's taking on players. He's connecting the midfield to the attacking, and he's also a great defender. I just can't. Again, like I say, we've had a lot of players in this position, and me and you had this. I assured you when this happened the first time that Calafiori, as soon as he was fit, was going to come back into this side, and I am a convert. Calafiori still offers and does something different to MLS. It's very, very different. I just can't see a world in which we're not having him as our starting left back anymore. And he's such a dynamic player. He's such a forward-thinking player. I think a lot of the similarities between both him and Nwaneri is that of an age where they're at, I think they just don't, not they don't care. Maybe it's the wrong terminology, but they just, the same level of pressure or things just don't seem to kind of sit on their shoulders the same way that they do as other players. They don't worry so much. They can be quite risk averse. They can be It's just different. You look at them when we're going to talk about Sterling in a second. Like they will try and take on a man. They will give it a go, and if it doesn't happen, their recovery is incredible. It's happened a few times during this game where they'll lose the ball and just get it back. They got so much trust in their own ability to play football that they really do try and do all kinds of things. And I just wanted to really call out MLS again. I don't think he's had a bad game in an Arsenal shirt yet. I'm sure it'll come, but I don't think he's had a bad game yet.
Not one that I can recall. I think he's been superb for us this breakthrough season. Crazy that someone of that age is now our starting left back, and as you say, justified his place in that position. I'm his biggest fan, actually. I've already lined up Lewis-Skelly for the back of my shirt next year. That's just already know what's going on the back. But I don't know what number, because when did he get who's number 3?
Tierney.
Yeah, so he'll get Tierney's number. He's got to get Tierney's number.
All right, well, should we talk about the elephant in the room then, since we've mentioned him by name a couple of times before we talk about Trossard? So the subject of this bit was, is half his wages too much? Because, when we signed Raheem Sterling from Chelsea on loan with no loan fee and paying less or half his wages, I think a lot of us were at the time going, that's a very astute signing. It was a very opportunistic signing. It was an opportunity that we took and used and thought, you know what, if we couldn't get the right player in, that actually feels like someone with Premier League pedigree, someone who has won the league, someone who's done it all, and in his prime was one of the best players in his position. And we stand now in front of you watching. I don't know what I'm watching anymore. I'm not sure. It's certainly not the same player that we once knew. I think before I give you the opportunity to talk about what you think, I think that the one thing I want to say, right, Jace, and I think we've seen it a lot this season, particularly from Martinelli, offside all the time. Like I think this game, is our second game for offsides, like in terms of total. And he was offside, like I think 3 times in the first half. I just can't get past the idea that as a winger, you're one of your key jobs is to stand on that line and ensure that when someone's playing that ball to you, you can stay on side and offer width to our play. Because even the commentators made a point of saying we were very narrow this game. And I think a lot of that is because no one trusts to give the ball to Raheem Sterling because he doesn't know what to do with it when he gets it. And it is a real shame, because I think a lot of us, albeit maybe had some reservations, thought this was somewhat going to be okay. We are where we are right now. We don't have a choice. We're going to have to deal with it probably for another month. But he was really poor, really, really poor today. I'm hoping you agree, Jason. Don't see anything different to me.
Look, I think you have to consider a number of factors. Yeah, his performance wasn't good. I think we thought it was astute, but I think the reality is I think we did gamble. We had to make a gamble at the end. We'd let Reece Nelson go, and we had to make a gamble and bring someone in, and we trusted in the legacy that he's created in his career. On the other hand, you're talking about Nwaneri now being 17. Remember, Sterling has played pretty much first-team football from the same age. And Saka has too. But I think he is a perfect example of when you play a player so young, they can be amazing, but sometimes there's a drop-off. Sometimes the body will just let you down. And I see that. Like, obviously physically, maybe he's not always getting injured, but there are attributes that we thought he had still that clearly he does not have. And that wear and tear on the body from playing at that from that age, Man City clearly saw that and felt the need to let him go. And let's be honest, like, he's 29 now, so Man City let him go 2 seasons ago. So he's probably only 27, probably late 27s. That's your prime years. And you're letting him go. They clearly saw that and felt he was done. And it's difficult because I really like him as a player. I love I love the Raheem Sterling of City. I always felt he would be a perfect fit in this team, which is why I was really excited when we did the loan, thinking that's some clever business. But the reality is that it was a painful watch. We sat against Spurs when he started, and he just couldn't beat Spence on that left. Spence was playing left back, and Raheem was on the right. He just runs into him again and again. He doesn't have that flick, that pace. I'm not saying he doesn't have no football intelligence, but I'm not seeing that same level of intelligence he had when he was at City, and confidence as well. He needs, the only way we might be able to build up his confidence is with a run of games. But I mean,
well, he's going to get it now. He's going to get it now. So now is the chance to do it right.
Is he?
Well, who? I can't. Well, you tell me. We'll maybe go on to it next. Then we'll talk about that in a second. But I don't know. I can't see how we wouldn't start with the same that we started with today.
I have a couple of views on this, so I think let's move on to this now, because I think we're done. I mean, what else is there to add about Sterling?
No, but you did want to say about Trossard, because I thought he was quite lackluster today. I don't think he was as bad as Raheem Sterling was, and I think he tried a lot more, and I think he comes inside a lot more. He's very narrow by comparison to Sterling, and by proxy of that, you just get more involved in the game, I think. But again, I don't think we're seeing the same Trossard that we have saw in previous seasons for Arsenal anymore.
So there's a couple of things to consider, I think. Yeah, what position was he playing in?
Yeah, he was playing as a 9, and he played as the striker today. And obviously, that's not his. He's played a lot of positions this year as well, right? We said earlier about him playing the 10. He plays as the left wing. He's now playing as a striker. I think my early observations of him in position was that we were quite disjointed going forward, and we were also quite disjointed in our press. Usually, Ødegaard is very good at commanding and conducting our forward line to ensure they press in unison and do the right things. I didn't see that being as good as it has been. So I give the benefit of the doubt that he was playing a different and unique position to what he usually does. But either way, maybe when he was shifted out, do you think he was better when he was somewhat shifted to the left then?
So, do you remember he actually assisted Merino's second goal?
I did, but that was it was a counter attack, and it was the first one that we ever bloody did. They were all at sea after they conceded. They were all at sea. They didn't know how to deal with us.
Look, we need him to be at his best for the rest of the season. I'm not here for right now for critiquing Trossard too much. I think he is a player that comes up with clutch goals when you need them. I think he is incredibly intelligent. He's got that Santi Cazorla feat about him, shall we say. His age is not on his side, but I still think, and you can have bad games, and I just don't think the whole of our front three plus some of our attacking midfielders, we're basically figuring out how to work the front three in the attack in the game. Like, they've not had much chance to configure and work this out. This is the first game they've had where we've had to play those three up front together. And Trossard doesn't usually, he's small as well. So having someone who's small going through the middle when you've already got two small wingers, one of them can't get any service to you. He's just basically out of the game. I just think it's very... I'm not there yet for critiquing Trossard at that level. I think the run of games over the next couple of weeks will be the proof in the pudding with Trossard. But for me personally, I've already made my mind up about what I'd like to see, and we'll talk about that. And I think actually I watched Arteta's interview press conference that he gave after the game, and I think it's obvious what we're going to do if we can keep our players fit while we at least have Saka and Martinelli out. I think it's so obvious.
All right, tell me, is it the next topic or is it not?
Well, it is, isn't it? It is the next.
Is it that one?
Merinho. Just give him the hate.
Our new Brazilian number 9.
Look, first of all, let's talk about what he did today. He, to quote Arteta's words in the press conference, smelt danger. He's smelling danger. He's getting in great positions. The burst up the pitch for the second goal was brilliant. The goal he scored for Spain in the Euros, the header, like that, we knew he has that in his locker. And we finally kind of saw a really good finish for the first goal as well. It was a really astute change. I don't know if it was intentional in regards to how we thought he was going to perform. I don't think any of us expected it, but I'm all here for it. And I think the main thing that I wanted to call out with this was you look at his attributes, and yeah, he's not got the intelligence that Havertz has, especially because Havertz can play in the Odegaard role, right? He has a level of intelligence and quick feet and can find a nice pass. I'm not saying that Merinho? No.
I don't think he can play up front.
No, he definitely can't. Merinho is not the same player as Kai Havertz, but in a forward position, he has a number of similar attributes that can fill the hole. And I don't think a small guy, the way we play, I don't think a small number 9 down the middle works anyway. So if you think about that, he can make runs into the box, he can score those tap-ins. He's got a great head on him. And he, when we're putting crosses in, he's physical, he's strong. He can actually compete with defenders and centre-backs. I think he is an obvious replacement for Havertz at this moment in time. I think he's much more effective in that position than having Trossard in that position, because Trossard's just too small to beat players in that way. And Trossard's more effective from the left, as we saw by the fact that he was able to get the assist. So for me, it's a no-brainer. And Arteta didn't confirm it in his interview. And we didn't deny that wasn't an option as well. Obviously, he always plays his cards close to his chest. And so, because we don't want teams to be predicting how we're going to line up. But I mean, we've got so few players. I think it's obvious now. Yeah. So that's my.
I can see it, because we can see a similar story arc to Kai Havertz coming in that left 8. That's where we all thought Kai was going to play. He's gone forward into that striker position, and he does offer something different as a profile. And I think you mentioned about height. Height is a really key point here. You look at all the players that Arteta has been looking at as the 9, they're all big boys. Mm-hmm. They're all tall players that can head the ball. And you think about a lot of how we played this season, corners being one of our biggest driver of goals. I think we had about 7 in the first half of this game, and we were screaming really for someone that could get on the end of one of them and do the damage. Usually that's Gabriel, right? But you're certainly not going to be getting that from any of our wide players. I do think I can see what you're saying. Whether or not I think it will happen out of the box as the starting 11 against West Ham, I'm still not sure. I think it offers you something. I think one of the things that probably Arteta saw in this game particularly, Leicester were spent. Leicester were tired. They did a lot of chasing after the ball. They didn't have a lot of possession. And Merino's legs, I think, were telling. You said about that darting run that he smelt danger and went for it. Partly to do with that is because he had gas in the tank. And a lot of other players didn't. There were times here that Myles Lewis-Skelly, particularly towards the end, looked absolutely shagged. Declan Rice looked out. There was a bit where Declan Rice was about to hit it just inside the box. He was about to swing, and one of their players took it from his foot, and he almost collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
He was so annoyed or disappointed, but also he looked knackered. And it's funny considering how much of a rest we've actually had between games, that maybe this was quite exhausting as a game, and Merino's legs really helped. And like you say, the comparison to his leap in the Euros is quite astute, actually. It's very, very similar, that leapfrog to get the header. It's very Havertz-esque, let's be honest. So maybe you're right, Jace. It's funny, isn't it, how we've talked earlier on in the pod about different injuries and then having to find creative solutions to those problems. And Arteta's way to navigate that has been quite. Some of it is own doing. Let's be clear. I don't want to kind of like say, "Oh, Arteta's such an amazing coach." The fact that we haven't obviously signed some of the players that maybe we should have, and it's not all at his door, like you've said. But maybe we found our square peg and our square hole, at least until Martinelli comes back from injury. Let's see what happens.
Potentially, and we've got the midfield cover, right? So we can play him there. The only thing I would say, though, Partey had a bad game today. I think that was maybe one of his worst games this season. Gave the ball away a few too many times, made us vulnerable. Lewis-Skelly had to save us, as you already mentioned, with that toe poke off of the foot of the Leicester player. So,
I see what you mean. I had to notice it was a bit of a yin and yang for Partey. I think he started the game well. He controlled the midfield. He was able to do his usual thing, but he did. I even wrote he was very wasteful. He gave away some sloppy free kicks. He gave away some sloppy passes that almost resulted in them. I think it was actually the one that came across the goal that ended up So yeah, you're right. I think, but considering where he's been and what type of player he's been this season for us, that's been quite. That was quite a common thread of last season for Thomas Partey. That type of performance was quite regular. That feels like that's probably been one of two this year so far.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Right, we've probably done enough of Arsenal Leicester, so we're going to move on to something we said we were going to do a few weeks back and haven't got around to do. We did a kind of off-the-cuff hit and miss of Mikel Arteta's Arsenal signings, and it was good to go through it. So we said we'd come back and do hit and miss, and our first team of selection was Manchester United and Ten Hag's signings of Manchester United. So I have a list, Chase. I'm going to ask you this time because I think you maybe asked me last time.
Yeah, okay.
But we can do it together, of course. I'll keep stock of as we're going through them to see whether they are, so we can see what level of kind of percentage are good. Because I'm looking down this list, and then there's not a lot of good stuff in it. So let's start. I'm going to start with a nice and easy one.
Yeah.
Anthony.
Hit.
Shut up. Actually, it's funny you say that. I don't know if you've seen. He's currently scored 2 goals and got 2 man of the matches in Spain. Or was it Portugal?
Spain, Betis.
Spain.
So he probably should stay.
He's
there.
Actually doing all right.
He should stay there.
So maybe it's the club. I'm assuming it's a miss, Jace.
Yes, it's a big miss.
Big miss. Right, next, Mason Mount.
Miss. He's not been consistent. What? He's not been good enough compared to the money they spent for him in a central midfield position. He didn't become the England midfielder we thought he was going to be.
No, and I just looked up how much he cost.
It was like
that
60.
Is mental.
A lot of money. It wasn't cheap.
Yeah, that is mental. And he has a lot of injuries, so he's probably not had the opportunity to do a lot. But I agree with you. I think it's also
we joined. Everyone was laughing about the fact that we got Havertz and they got Mount. Well, let's just say I'm happy with how that turned out.
Yeah, I agree. Right, the next one's a funny one because I don't think he ever played a game. Jack Butland.
I mean, as a backup goalkeeper on it, I mean, he probably did the job he needed to do, maybe. But
according to this, he never played a game, so he actually didn't do the job he was meant to do, Jace.
Well, no, he was a backup goalkeeper. He wasn't meant to play. He's just meant to sit on the bench. True. I can't believe how many goalkeepers. I'm going to do a couple more goalkeepers. Based on how this is probably going to go, I'm going to say hit. He did his job. He never needed to do it.
That's actually quite. Yeah, you actually could be right. And there's 2 more keepers just in a row here. So Altay Bayender, who was a Turkish goalkeeper.
Yeah, that was a miss.
He played 1 game. 1 game. And then we have Dubravka.
That was on loan, though, wasn't it? And then he went
back was a loan, yeah.
To Newcastle. Yeah.
So it's got to be a miss.
I mean, I guess so. But again, the goalkeeper ones, I kind of almost want to ignore the goal. Any reserve goalkeeper, you just kind of have to ignore it because, like, unless they're actually
That's
getting.
like, you look at some of ours, we've had some pretty like awful ones. Like we had Neto, we had
He's awful. Yeah, that's
Renarsson.
That was a big miss. He was awful.
Yeah, so we've had similar.
Yeah.
Right, here's one that I already know the answer to before I even say it, and that's purely because of who we used to play for. Sergio Reguilon.
Miss.
Don't even think about it. Right, actually, the next one could be an interesting one. Malacia.
How much they pay? Where they take him from?
I don't know actually. But he's been in and out of the squad. And he has a lot of injuries. But when I've seen him play before, he wasn't bad. But I suppose in terms of like returns and starts, that might be where he kind of falls down a bit.
He's 25 years old.
Oh, I thought he was a lot younger than that.
So did I. So let me have a look. Hang on. 25 years old. Does it say how much he signed for? That's what I'm more interested in, the price. That's a big.
I didn't realise he's even gone on loan to PSV at the moment. So he's not even with Man United at the moment. He went in the window.
Oh, that's a miss then. Yeah, okay. I thought he. I mean, it shows how much. There's too many people at Man United I've never heard of. So,
well, can't wait till we do this with Chelsea. Chelsea's going to be hilarious. Right, Wout Weghorst.
Miss. I mean, it was an emergency kind of.
Maybe we could do with a Weghorst right now, Jace. Who knows?
Yeah, but I mean, he wasn't good enough for them to sign him. They sent him back to Burnley, and then he went back to. I think he's playing for Ajax or PSV now, maybe.
Yeah. This is a big one. Because I'm interested. Casemiro.
Oh, that's interesting. I think, he had some good performances for United, definitely in his first season there. However, given the money you spent for him and how he's performed in the last year, including this season and last season, you have to say it's a miss, because you shouldn't be paying that much money for someone at that age to play and provide the performances he's been doing. He was good for a period, but overall, given how much they spent for him and his age and his performances recently, is a miss. You wouldn't spend that kind of money on someone that age. It's probably is why Arsenal didn't go and take Aston Villa's offer of 60 million. It's the same principle. It just didn't
I'm just trying to figure out so Man United made a top 4 finish and the Carabao Cup mainly because of him and what he was doing in the midfield. He had one all right season, and I agree with you. You mean there's been a lot of noise made, even from the likes of Redknapp and stuff and Carragher and others on Sky Sports, like when he's been having some terrible performances and making maybe leave the football before the football leaves you, I think was the quote that one of them had.
Real Madrid knew what they were doing. Just saying.
I'm gonna come back to what you say, a miss, right, Jay? So I'm gonna put it as a miss then, but I'm on the fence. Amrabat.
Miss. I mean, some of these don't even need to be. Just put X's next to them straight away. Amrabat just did nothing.
Here's one that I reckon you'll forget about, because I certainly did.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, but that's the point. If you can't even remember them, then I mean, not that we watch United week in, week out.
No, I know, but some of these players, you know who they are. So the next one's Sabitzer.
I thought he did all right, to be honest. It was a loan from Bayern Munich, wasn't it? If I remember right.
It was, yeah.
But again, don't watch Man United enough to really be like 100%. He's a hit. He's a miss. I'm on the fence with him.
Because he basically is one of those players that come and goes without any kind of he's not terrible, he's not great. But he went to Dortmund, I think, after. And that the year they went to the Champions League final and they were really good?
Last season, no.
Yeah, not last season, that season before.
Maybe.
I forget.
I mean, the question I have with, can you? He was a loan signing, right? Was he?
He was, yeah. Yeah.
So,
No,
I mean, I would almost take loans out, right? If I'm completely honest, because we're talking about the money. We talked about the money Arteta spent, so it should be about the money Ten Hag spent.
Okay.
So I wouldn't even bother. Loans are loans. Players
All
come
right.
in.
Well, here's a money signing then. Xerxes.
Currently, he's how much he cost?
I don't know, but he scored one goal in like 13 games. He hasn't been starting a lot, admittedly. I'm going to see how much he signed for while we're talking.
Xerxes transfer fee, 36.5 million,
which is not bad.
Yeah, I mean, how many?
It's not a hit. It's not a hit though. It can't be a hit. Can't be a hit. You paid 36 million for one goal at the moment for a striker.
Is that all he scored? I thought
he scored one goal.
No, one goal.
Oh, 3 goals. So 3 goals in 24 games. So you're currently spending about 12 million a goal.
I mean, as a backup striker, maybe he's a backup to Højlund, right? You wouldn't say he's the starter. So he get subbed on and then got subbed off in the game. Yeah, okay, miss. Yeah.
Right, Ugarte.
I'm gonna say miss at the moment.
I mean, I can't see anything that's telling me not. So I kind of agree with you.
He's not lit up. I mean, when they signed him, I was like, who? From PSG, I was like, why would PSG let someone that good go, considering the caliber of players they now have?
Yeah, and I mean, I've not, like you said, not watched too much of it, but when I have, the ability to waltz through Man United's midfield has been a telling problem of their entire season. And I know there's partly Casemiro, but it's partly the likes of Ugarte as well.
We're going to get so much stick from United fans for doing this as well, which is because we just don't watch them close enough to be like. I
know, but you can't. Let's be honest, right? You can't be watching Arsenal. Arsenal every week. Declan Rice is a hit.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, there's no. Let's get to where we've not had a hit yet, Jay. So we're in a bit of a sticky situation here. So they might be coming in a minute. Let's see.
All right.
We're gonna do Jean Paul. Just give me the light.
Who?
Delete.
Oh. I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
Straight over Chase's head.
Yeah, well, I get it, but it was just the name was completely different. Again, like, I wouldn't say he's been amazing. He's probably one of their starting centre-backs, but he's not been amazing to the point that Bayern Munich decided to sell him. Did Bayern Munich keep Eric Dyer as well?
Yeah, but wasn't that just so Harry Kane had a mate?
Yeah, but maybe. But I need to check this out. Because if Eric Dyer is still playing for Bayern Munich, then that's a miss for. He is currently still a Bayern Munich player. Wow. Okay. So yeah, they felt the need to get rid of De Ligt and keep Eric Dyer. Do I need to say anything more?
Miss. Right. Next one's going to be an interesting one then. Lenny Euro.
Can you? I don't think you can answer that.
It's too early to tell, surely,
too
right?
Early. Yeah.
But that means he's not a hit nor a miss. So
no, there's a lot of hope for him. I mean, I guess if it's not a hit, it's a miss until it becomes a hit, right? So that's the rules.
Mazraoui.
I'd say he's probably doing a job. I think actually probably in the money I spent. Yeah, maybe I'd give that a hit.
Woo! There's one. He's got one. I'm actually looking down this list. I can't believe how many players they've signed from Bayern Munich.
A lot. Yeah, I think you think they'd learn their lesson. Bayern Munich don't give players away.
No. Højlund.
Again, I guess a hit. Especially
my days. Are you being serious?
Well, a lot of our United friends rave about him. I mean, I wouldn't want him as my starting striker, but I guess if he keeps him happy and he scores some occasional goals, he's.
He was 72 million.
What's his stats this year? Last year, I would have said he wasn't bad last year.
Right, I'm going to look it up for you. Give me 1 second. But 72 million is like it's a lot, Jace.
It is, but that's the going rate for a striker anyway. I mean, look how many people. Some people have made.
He scored 12 in 49 games. So
over 2 seasons.
5. Yeah.
For 72 million. Right now, he's not a hit based on the statistics. You know, he needs to be scoring goals. But, you know.
He is 20. He is 20.
He can come good still. He can come good. He could be a hit, but I'm not going to say he's a hit yet.
Okay. Miss it is. Next one's going to be an interesting one because you could go either way. Onana.
They get him on a free because he had the suspension at Ajax. So, oh no, they got him from Inter Milan, didn't they?
He was from Inter because he didn't they get to like the final?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's his fee?
I'm just looking it up. Shouldn't necessarily be looking at the fee, but he was 43 million.
No. I mean, David Raya was like 25, 30, and he's a far superior goalkeeper.
Yeah, I mean, there is elements to him where I'm like, yeah, that's but I think he's starting to be better.
He is, but I still wouldn't trust him doing pass backs with my back line.
Right. 3 more left. Johnny Evans.
That's actually a hit.
36 years old, Jay. Centre back. Right.
Considering his age, and they didn't pay a penny for him, and they kept him because he was actually coming on and rescuing them at times last season. Yeah, I mean, I can see why he would, you have to give the circumstances around it. He's a hit.
Okay. Ericsson.
He was a free as well, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Hit.
Yeah, I think so. He was free. He's probably past it now, but he did a good job for them at the beginning.
All right, last one then. The Butcher. Lisandro Martinez.
He's a hit.
You like Lisandro, do you?
Well, Arsenal were in for him originally.
I know, but he's one of those players that I just don't like anymore. He just strikes me as just a little prick.
Oh, yeah, but like as a United fan, you love that about him. So I would say if I'm a United fan, he's definitely a hit. He's their best defender.
Right. So out of 21 players, there were 4 hits. So let's say about 20%.
And what was Arsenal's hit rate? We were a bit high. We weren't perfect.
I reckon we're a little bit higher, but like it's not a lot in it. But I would say I definitely say that Arsenal.
We had about 8 hits, I think, didn't we?
Okay. Yeah, I generally say that we were better than that. I think Arteta's record is better than Ten Hag's.
Yeah, Ten Hag. Yeah, but some of the prices. I think the other reason the Man United one is so bad is it's because some of the prices that they've spent on those players, is astronomical.
I think Antony is probably one of the worst Premier League signings of all time.
I'd argue for the money he spent, he is the worst Premier League signing of all time. Like people took the piss out of us for Nicolas Pepe. At least he scored goals and got assists. Like he scored some amazing goals for us as well. Like Antony, just all I remember is just this.
The fidgets.
Sorry, for anyone listening, I'm spinning around.
I'm going to spin on my chair, but I haven't got enough room. Right. Well, should we do Chelsea? The problem is with Chelsea doing Chelsea is that obviously they've had a bit of a merry-go-round of managers, and
so when
it's difficult to pinpoint what manager you do it from.
Do it from the point the new owners took over.
What, Bowley?
Yeah, so that would be Potter, Tuchel, and Lampard again, and
Maresca.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's our next game is West Ham, I think.
Yep.
We'll
Next
be
Saturday
there.
at
We
home.
will be there. We will be there. Yeah, next Saturday at home.
Yeah, we will be there.
So we'll come back to you after that game, hopefully with another 3 points in the bag, hopefully 4 points behind Liverpool after they've lost to Wolves tomorrow. And they got Villa as well, haven't they? Yeah. Oh, could be very, very. Could that mean we could be 1 point behind them?
No, because they have a game in hand to play. Well, actually, they played their game in hand against Everton in the week, didn't they?
Yeah, they have. So they'll have one more than us.
So they'll be, I don't know why they've got another game midweek. Is it because of the League Cup final maybe coming up?
Yeah. It's because of the League Cup.
Okay, well then, yeah. So, I mean, if they lose both of them, which they're obviously not going to do, I could see him losing to Villa. Villa's the one that I've got my hopes pinned on. Not sure about Wolves. I think
Look at Watkins FC over here. You're so deep, Jace.
Look, I'm very sore about this. How much
you dig up the past, all you're going to get is dirty.
Yeah, but hey, maybe he'll I don't know, score a hat trick against Liverpool,
just to do the business.
Raise his top, and he'll have a cannon on his Under Armour underneath.
And in other things that won't ever happen. So we'll be back again. West Ham next week. We'll do Chelsea hit and miss. So we'll see how they fare against the likes of Ten Hag and Mikel Arteta. If you've made it this far, we do appreciate you joining us on the channel. Please do give the video a like. Please do give the channel a subscribe. And Jace, if they've got their ears wrapped around this rather than their eyes, what do we want those peeps to do?
Yeah, if you're listening on your podcast provider of choice, then hit the subscribe. That means every time we release one of these episodes, it will be in your podcast app whenever we release it. And if you like it, then give us a star rating, 5 stars, no less, please.
Lovely stuff. We'll see you again next week. Thank you very much for listening.
Cheers, guys.
Come on, you!